Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Liberated Sensitive. This is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with being a highly sensitive person and more. I'm your host, Kim Gilster, and you can find out more about me at my website, theliberatedsensitive.com. And with me today is my lovely assistant, Fleur Dubois. She's a psychic reader. She does for a living. She's also a highly sensitive person. We both are.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today, Fleur?
Yeah. I'm doing really well, thank you. Yeah. 'Tis the season.
Yay.
Just had Halloween. I love this time of year. It's just magical.
Yes,
That's what
it
I'm
can
saying. Yeah. Yeah. So,
At any rate, the show now is going to be for 30 minutes. We decided that, an hour might be a little bit too long for people's attention span. So it is now 30 minutes, and without further ado, we want to talk about the subject matter. I decided that we should really get into talking about family and dealing with our families as a highly sensitive person today because, well, it's the beginning of November, and we're going into the holiday season. And during the holiday season, as we know, a lot of us, maybe we don't live with our families, and, we might be going to holiday dinners and things of that nature, or maybe we've decided to opt out because, it feels like too much for us to handle, and that's okay, too. Okay? But in any case, we're still, some degree, faced with, the whole family thing. Because if we're opting out, we're, still being reminded of things that maybe we feel like we wish could be happening. Oftentimes, some sort of idealized Christmas, Yule, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving dinners, et cetera, that we imagine could be happening, like in the movies or some other sort of thing. So if we're actually, so we're going to talk about, those of us who are going to be spending time with our families. And this is also true for people because there's a lot of people who actually, still live with their families who might be listening, younger people or, or people who have families of their own, children and spouses and such. So as a highly sensitive person, obviously, these people are going to be people that are the closest to you. And being the closest to you, even though you do feel things from pretty much everyone, there's that whole empathy thing that is inherent to being a highly sensitive person. Right. So how, what are some of the tools that we need to be aware of? Okay. The first thing that I would say that we need to be aware of is this, this bully, and it really is a bully, called expectations. People have argued with me that we need expectations, but that's not true. It's not true at all, okay? We have one. It's okay to have one. But expectations are something different. Expectations are things that we expect from others or expect from ourselves. And they're largely based on cultural norms. Okay? So they're based on things, depending upon, your background. What does your cultural look like? What does your culture look like? Right? What does your financial status look like? That's a part of your culture as well. We gain these expectations by also watching our neighbors and wishing we had this or wishing that we had that or something else. The thing is that, you know, people are only capable of what they are capable of. That includes ourselves, and this includes other people, particularly our family members.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we might have an expectation that love should look something like, you know, your mother, you come over to her home during the holidays, and she's just, you know, so happy to see you, and she's just love and light, and, you know, loves you unconditionally, and, you know, what does that unconditionally look like? It's, oh, she just accepts everything about you and praises you. A lot of people really wish, you know, they had something. I mean, I exaggerate a bit, but really a lot of people I talk to do have expectations that look something like that, right? But your mother is a human being, okay? And your mother, just like you, has issues, has challenges, has whatever is going on in her reality that maybe somehow, you know, in the way of her treating you in a way that feels like unconditional love. But unconditional love is not about being nice necessarily, okay?
Right.
Everyone that has children knows that, you know, say your children were to do something like, you know, there's an open fire and your child is small, and so they just think, oh, look, pretty, and they go, and they're going directly at a very fast pace to put their fingers into the open fire. Well, what is a good parent to do? Well, a good parent will probably slap the child's hand away from the fire. Now, that's not going to necessarily feel pleasurable to the child. Okay?
No.
Right. But it was the loving thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, of course, you know, a parent can then come and talk to the child about it. Not all parents do that because maybe they don't understand or have the tools and whatnot to talk to the child about why they just did that and why it was not inappropriate, why it was not a loving thing to do. I mean, or why it was, a loving thing to do. Okay?
Yeah.
And often the parent might feel guilty. Oh, I feel this guilt and because I just slapped my child's hand, and, you know, it creates this whole, this one incident can create, you know, a lot of feelings that, you know, don't feel pleasurable, that don't feel necessarily useful, and, you know, and on we go. So how does this play into expectations? Well, if we go into a situation and we work on not having any expectations of someone, we can actually be very observant about what is actually going on with them. Through that observation, that sort of awareness, we can actually have compassion. When they feel that compassion, when we don't have an aversion towards, you know, their pain, because it's not about us, it's about them, okay? Yeah. Their anguish, their pain, their, you know, whatever sort of suffering that, you know, is happening, if it happens to be suffering. Oftentimes things are suffering that we hadn't, you know, recognized as being suffering before we gained, you know, an awareness by not having the expectations.
Yeah.
Because even if we don't say anything to them, okay, about it, and even, you know, and we start practicing empathy, which is basically just saying, hey, it's okay to be you. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. You know, we might say, is there anything I can do? And if they say no, well, we don't take that on, right? You don't have an expectation that they're going to say, oh, yes, please help me. Even though you may have the tools, or you may think you have the tools, that would be useful to help them, okay? When they feel like, you're practicing this something, you're trying to fix them, it's very invalidating.
Yeah.
Okay? And oftentimes you will be met with someone who is, just, dealing with you begrudgingly, or, feeling like or sometimes even talking down to you. But you'll be met with a lot of resistance. Okay? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes when people get on, a path where they're expanding and they feel more free and things like that, they really want to share it, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
Okay? For you being able to share is actually just practicing empathy as opposed to sympathy. Now, if something happens where, and which will always happen until you get enough practice at dealing with your triggers, which we've talked about in previous shows, nobody will trigger you more than your family members. We all know this, right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's true. When you can sit through a family dinner, with your family of origin and not be triggered, not even once, you're at least on the road to being truly enlightened, to being truly healthy, to being truly free, right?
Yeah.
Now, me, I've had to do it, over and over again to prove to myself. Of course. And it just sort of takes that because, it could be a one-off, right? Just didn't happen that time. Okay, I've dealt with those particular triggers, and it's true because I've had times in my life where, I sat through one family dinner and it was fine. And then I went back and I sat through another one a few months later and it was, all hell breaking loose. Upon my own triggers, and of course the triggers of my family. I can't do anything about the triggers. So what do we do when we are being triggered? I mean, we're sensitive people. We feel all of this stuff, right? And hopefully we're keeping open because, open those chakras. Make sure, if you have to check it every few minutes to see whether you're open, do it. Okay? But even with that, whatever comes to us that triggers us, it's a gift, and that is what our family is giving us. It is a gift. But so how do you handle that? Well, what I've done in the past is, just excuse myself to go to the bathroom. Nobody will follow you to the bathroom unless there's a small child, but, of course, a small child is not usually very problematic. So, right? So nobody will follow you to the bathroom. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I've got to run to the bathroom, whatever, you had a problem. And you go in there and you work your trigger. It only takes a few minutes. And if, like you happen to be really emotional, embrace that pain. Just embrace it and let it, not just, hold on to it, but let it flow through you. Breathe. If you have whatever, meditations that you can do, briefly, breathe through it. Okay? If you have to excuse yourself to go outside, hopefully they don't follow you out there, although my family members have been known to do that. Okay? Just do it. Okay? Because and ask yourself, too, before you step back out of that, back into the situation, where am I having expectations? Where am I having expectations? Am I wearing this? Why am I wearing, you know what I mean? If you work to trigger anyway, it will usually talk to you and tell you. Okay?
Yeah.
It gets you're not going to get it, right away. This is not going to happen. Right. It's just not. But going in with your family members, having the courage. It takes a lot of courage. It actually does. Okay? Going in is a courageous act. Okay? And so when you go in, you can, look, I'm courageous. I'm going into this because this is feeding me. This is going to give me opportunities to work on things in ways that other things can't really give me. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because everyone else that is not a family member is more removed from me. But especially your family of origin, you carry DNA with these people. Okay? Which is part of the reason why you have the ability, or they have the ability, to trigger you so well. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if you're a person who has decided to opt out because you know what? No matter what you've done in the past, it's just way too overwhelming. You know what? We all do what we do when we're ready to do it. Okay? But before you make the decision not to show up, ask yourself some questions. Okay? So am I doing this as a form of avoidance? Okay? Or am I willing to deal with, the feelings that come up around the holidays that have to do with my family of origin? Okay? Because even if you're not there in their presence, you're going to have these feelings that come up. Oftentimes I see people pushing them away. But, holiday time is ripe for dealing with these things. If we can really deal with all of the stuff that's around our family of origin, we can deal with just about anything. Because this is where we got a lot of the false beliefs to begin with, right? At least the great majority of them. We got them from our family of origin. Right. Or at least they played into it somehow in some way, right?
Right.
So it's even if you're saying, okay, you know what, I'm not far enough along in my journey and my healing to deal with them. Or perhaps, and maybe you might have one that's a drug addict person or something like that, And we all know, I personally do have a family member who's a drug addict, who hasn't been around in my family for a while, who, like most drug addicts, the reason that this person isn't around is because, well, what do? They come in and they just lay waste to everything, and they wreak havoc, and they're just somebody that you really, can't deal with until they're ready to really start facing some of their stuff. I mean, there are extreme situations like that. Sometimes it's a drug addict, or sometimes, you may have had, a parent or a sibling who's just, bestowed extreme abuse of some sort onto you that, you just, look, my answer is I'm going to heal everything that surrounds this. But because I love myself, I just, it's not a happy space. I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not happy.
Yeah.
That can be a very healthy, loving decision to make, as long as we're not doing it out of a space of avoidance.
Yeah.
Okay? If we're doing it out of a space of, okay, I'm having these feelings of, well, I wish that, my parent who, and again, this is an example, but I wish that my parent who, beat me all of the time and belittled me and, wreaked havoc on me as a child could have been this, super loving person. Well, how about you really look at that and really decide, okay, I'm going to work be that loving person to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So, I hear that for most people, it's not that extreme. It really isn't. For most people, the expectations are more around, well, I wish my mother or my father would have spent more time with us. They're like, absent emotionally. They're, maybe, I got sent away to school. But I come from a very affluent background, say, right? Where everybody got sent away to school.
Yeah.
That was like a societal expectation at the time. Okay. Well, first of all, you can't do anything about the past in that situation. And then people get an expectation where somehow, the parents are supposed to make up for that. Because they feel like, well, I had a bad time at school or what have you. Or I feel like I wasn't nurtured enough or what have you. Again, even when they're still present in your life, it's still up to you to develop that sort of loving relationship with yourself, inside yourself.
Yeah.
It's all about those expectations. I now have an expectation that they should, make up for it. So then I go to them with this attitude, like they should do this. How is that going to make them feel? Even if they're responding to it, because maybe they do feel guilty, because I've seen that, right? It's still not going to, quote unquote, fix the situation, right? Because there's really nothing that they can do about the past. There's nothing you can do about the past.
Yeah.
Right? You have to meet them where they're at right now. And what does that look like? Right? Without the expectations. Right? Because maybe they're, bestowing these things upon you and what have you, but is that really that healthy for you? Does it make you grow to have the expectation that, maybe your significant other will do that for you, and maybe you're having problems finding that significant other, or you're unhappy with your significant other because they're not behaving that way, or, I mean, just I can come up with so many things and situations. I worked with a lot of people with lots of different types of situations with their families of origin. But at the end of the day, it all falls on us to make us happy. So, one of the things that I also wanted to cover, we only have 6 minutes left on the show. Oh my gosh, maybe 30 minutes isn't enough. Is a need for approval.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we come into life here on the planet, we come in with, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this stuff, and, who do we use to sort of to guide us and give us some kind of structure as our parents, right, and our siblings, our family of origin. And so approval at that point is natural. Approval is, I learned to go potty on the big boy potty. And so mom is clapping and being all happy, and it feels really good because I got her approval.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be going potty on the potty, as an example. Well, that's okay when we're small. Okay? But as we grow and we look for independence, we need to stop looking for that approval. So how do you get it? You start giving yourself approval, okay? And this is just going to be really brief because we only have a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you one tool, and I think that the next show we're going to talk about this more, approval and also stuff around families. So how do you do that? You're going to do the thing where you look in the mirror every day and say, I love you. Every time you do something, okay, that you like, or you've done something for somebody, like something as simple as opening a door to let somebody in the building, or, hey, I cleaned my dishes, I cleaned my kitchen. Anything that you do throughout the day, stop for a second. You know what? You're awesome. Look what you just did, right? You finished your project at work. Man, you rock, right? I love you so much.
Yeah.
I know. You laugh because it feels uncomfortable at first, and it's going to. Okay?
Because I've done
because
it.
Most of your life you've been looking for approval outside of yourself. Right.
Yeah. I've been doing it.
Exactly, and it works.
Yeah.
It works. It works. Yeah, it's a tool that I give people that come to me. Absolutely, it works. Okay? So we want to start practicing that first before we even get in line with the holidays really coming up. And we don't have very long here in the United States because we have Thanksgiving coming up week after next. So, you have a couple of weeks to start practicing giving yourself approval. Okay? But no, I wanted to say at first it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel comfortable because you're working with a deficit. Okay? So I saw a brilliant guy compare it to, a bank account where you're in the red. Right? It doesn't feel good. We, obviously if we're in the red in our bank account, we need to put money in there in order to get into the green. Otherwise we won't have a bank account. Our finances will be crazy and we won't be able to get credit. And oh my gosh, what a crazy thing that happens with that. But so we have to do it. And it doesn't feel good because, you put a little money in. Oh gosh, I'm still in the red. I put a little bit more money in. Okay, I'm still in the red, but I'm in the red by less. Okay, that feels a little good, right? Yeah. And then finally, once we get into the green, oh my gosh, this feels good. Look, I actually have a savings now. Okay, I can actually open a savings account. That was my checking account. I can open a savings account, and pretty soon it's like, okay, I'm all in the green. I have all of this approval of me, for me. Okay, and then that makes it much easier for me not to have expectations. That makes it much easier for me to put me first. I'm going to do things that I want to do them, right? Yeah. That's what self-approval gives you, is it starts giving you that ability to do that. I want to do that, okay? It makes it okay that, I'm doing this for this person because it makes me feel good, and that's okay. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's reciprocity. It's how life works. Life doesn't work in this sort of vacuum where, we're going to do something and then, God or something else or the universe or whatever you would like to call it is going to reward us for it somehow. Even though we're inside of ourselves probably doing it in a sort of begrudging way because we're like, if I do this, I have this expectation of this outcome. And more times than that expectation never comes to pass. Anyway, so we only have 1 minute left, and it's time for us to do our little thing where we tell you about ourselves. I'm Kim Gilster, and I am a life coach. I specifically help highly sensitive people to really become self-empowered and self-loving and completely take charge of their life and be happy. More information out about me at TheLiberatedSensitive.com. I have a Facebook with the same name, Liberated Sensitive, and Fleur. Yeah, 46.
And I'm Fleur Dubois, and I do psychic tarot readings. And you can find me at tarotreadings9.com.
Awesome. So we will talk to you again week after next. Bye for now.
All right. Take care. Bye.